There's a wonderful Kanye West quote. It goes, "We're all self-conscious, I'm just the first to admit it." And speaking of my experience of life, I have found that to be true, and I hope that you're all doing well, but I would be surprised if none of you have ever experienced feelings of self-doubt, in that although you do see yourself making progress, maybe it's not going at the rate that you would like it to. And I know that I've had those feelings many times in my life, and so in today's episode, I figured I would tell you all a little bit of a story that shows that progress is not linear, as much as sometimes I'm sure we all do wish it was. I want you to imagine Slip 3 or 4 years ago. I guess it may have actually been a little bit longer by now, but anyways, imagine Slip as a freshman in college. Over the past year, in order to get ready for college, Slip has lost 45 pounds. He's shed an unhealthy relationship and decided to move across the country to go to college. He's a certified personal trainer, and he's ready for everything that life has to offer him. And so he flies across the country and heads to Denver, Colorado, where eventually he becomes a fraternity brother, which is something that I had never expected. I never thought that I was going to be a fraternity brother, but I was warmly welcomed into the brotherhood and spent plenty of time having parties, going and meeting people, and enjoying the fraternity life. And I'm sure that part of the reason, although I'm still young, that I don't go out as much is because I got my fill of it then. And although I had tons of fun partying and getting to meet new people and doing all the fraternity things, it still felt like there was something missing. I felt like I had made so much social progress in my life, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And after my first year of college, I really struggled with these feelings. Although I now technically had many brothers, they didn't really feel like my brothers. They felt like people that I was trying to be a version of myself who I wasn't with. And I struggled the entire summer before my sophomore year of college just thinking about these feelings. And so the summer passed and we all headed back to school. And since I hadn't seen my fraternity brothers in a couple of months or so, they all wanted to get together and they wanted to do something called a vision quest. Now I'm not going to elaborate, but if you have any idea of what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, and it does involve substance. To put it short, a vision quest is quite a perception altering experience. And so I got together with my fraternity brothers. I was kind of nervous to see them, and we end up hanging out at someone's apartment, and we start the vision quest together. And after just a little bit of time, I start feeling much different. My body feels different, the way that I'm looking at other people and the world feels different, and most importantly, I became incredibly aware of how I was perceiving my friends differently. I had this feeling that I could see through the persona of everyone, including myself, that was in the room, and it was incredibly apparent to me that many of us were trying to put on a persona that wasn't necessarily in tune with who we were as a person. And feeling very altered myself, I was quite aware that I was also feeling like a shell of myself. I was feeling so off kilter that I knew that I couldn't pretend to be anything except for my most authentic self, which I assume was the point of the vision quest in the first place. But the more that I was hanging out with my fraternity brothers, the more that I got a feeling that I really wasn't like them, that we had different likes and interests, that we weren't cut from the same cloth, and it became clear that these fraternity brothers weren't really my friends. They were just people that wanted to party together and were interested in my companionship for an ulterior motive. And the more that I sat on the couch with my fraternity brothers, I realized that this was not the group that I wanted to hang out with, and I knew that I didn't want to spend the next 6 or 7 hours trapped with all of these people. And so I ended up making a choice that would alter our friendships forever. I told my friends that I was behind on an assignment in school and that I needed to get to work on it, and so I hastily left the apartment. However, those of you that have taken a vision quest will know that it is impossible to do schoolwork when doing one, and my fraternity brothers were incredibly aware of this too, and so they were able to see through the facade. They could see that I didn't want to be there with them and that I would rather be somewhere else. And for those of you who know the fraternity brother type, they're the type of people that are going to tell you how they see things. And so they called me out on my actions and made me feel bad for the choice that I was making. But at this time, I knew that I needed to get out of the apartment, and so I left and went to find friends that I knew did care about me and genuinely wanted to spend time together. And the more that I got into my head about the choices that I made and how I was treated for making those choices, the more self-conscious I became. I had realized that I really wasn't a fraternity brother in nature, and this vision quest showed me that I could no longer keep pretending. And so following that day, I stopped hanging out with my fraternity brothers, and in turn, started to pursue self-growth. That day, I destroyed the social life that I had worked so hard to build coming into college. I said goodbye to the relationships that I had made after doing so many rituals and doing so many different partying and activities together. Instead of all this, I decided to work on myself. I decided to learn new skills, such as practicing Muay Thai, becoming a better video editor, and learning how to draw. And although I enjoyed those activities for a long period of time, I felt like I wasn't making progress. It had felt like I was on a downwards trajectory after such a good year for my freshman year. And as many of you know, developing a new skill is not really glamorous, and it took a long time before I could see my editing or my drawing or my Muay Thai pay off. And so for a long period of time, it felt like I wasn't making any growth. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that I actually realized how far I had come. Part of my work is actually teaching art classes to kids now, and my video editing has gotten to a point where I actually work for an energy bar company and I run social media for them, where I make short form videos and try to promote the brand. Working for an energy bar company was actually a dream of mine, and so now I'm getting paid to do it, along with getting paid to do art. And as you all know, the editing has gotten to the point where I do get paid to do YouTube as well, meaning that now, a couple of years later, I'm actually exactly where I want to be. I'm exactly where I'd hoped to be, following that vision quest where I wasn't sure exactly what to do with myself, but I knew that I wanted things to change. And it took years, it took a really long time for me to see the growth that I was making. And it wasn't until I found the right relationships and the right people that I realized where I'd come from. And I could finally see that I was able to have what I wanted along with be the version of myself that I wanted to be as well. And it was actually the process of slow growth over a couple of years where I didn't see anything where I actually did make the most progress. And it wasn't a straight line, it was ups and downs. And many times, so many downs that I didn't even feel like we were going up. But I think that sometimes in this life game, sometimes the downs are the ups. The lowest moments in life are where you learn the most, where you find out the most about yourself, and you learn how to love yourself through the process.